Hello, and welcome back to another Minecraft Let's Play video with me, Elven Dragon. So last episode we started getting in some of our forest and started getting some little ruins over in the scrubland area. And I have to say, I'm really liking this forest. There's a lack of undergrowth right now, but for that I'm still working on what I want for that. I am thinking that we got these firefly bushes from the Wandering Trader. I'm thinking that these might be a good idea. Just scattered this about here. I love how that looks. Not quite sure what else we're going to put in here. Maybe some of our blue orchids, and you can see why I want these. I love those little firefly particles. I love particles. If we could put in some spore blossoms in here, that would be great. But without finding a lush cave, we're not going to be able to get any of those. So until then, we'll just have to make do with the firefly particles for now. And all the falling leaves. Can't forget about all the falling leaves. I love those too. Now, the other stuff I want to put in here is I've got some ideas for flowers. Kind of want to put in some blue orchids, add in a little bit of color. And I haven't quite decided what else. I'm thinking maybe a bit of tall grass or tall ferns. We'll have to see. As you can see, I've been playing around with the lampposts, and we've gotten mangrove and pale oak ones set up as a test. I'm not quite sure if I like that. I like the little bit of purple that's in the pale oak, but I'm not quite sure it's what needs to go in here. I'm almost tempted to say warped fences is what we're going to need, but we'll figure something out for right now. It might be that we put in the pale oak for right now and see how that looks overall. But today, with the forest mostly done, we've got a few more trees that we still need to put in. We kind of need to get some stuff for our undergrowth set up. Now, without knowing exactly what we need, it does make it hard for us to figure out what we need to build for those farms. But we do have several farms that we can build that are just general undergrowth material farms, and I think we're going to start with those. Now, the scrubland, we're going to use the wildflowers and the dry tall grass. So I want to get something to get more of that pretty quickly. And I definitely want more of these things because these things were expensive from the trader and we only got 8 of them. So I'm thinking we're going to tinker around with some farm ideas and try and get something set up for those. So if we head down here, we've got a few things. I've started mounting some stuff out for where we're going to put some stuff. I'm thinking a cactus farm over here. We don't really need cactus right now, so I'm just going to leave that. We also went and set up the sugarcane farm here to be semi-automatic. Looks like we got some getting stuck on top because we don't have blocks up there. But what I'm thinking is we're going to go and set up some farms here. So I've got wildflowers and dry grass right here. Currently planning the wildflower farm is going to be really simple. I think we can just basically use our pink petal farm and go from there. I actually haven't tested that yet, but I'm pretty sure it should work. And dry grass, that might not be dry grass. We might put these over here. Just simple little quick automatic farms that we can use. Again, I have to figure out what we're doing dry grass for. How we're going to do dry grass. I have no idea how we're doing dry grass. But we'll figure something out so that we can actually farm dry grass. So, I've got a few things to dig out. I think we're going to start with the farms over in the corner here. I definitely need to get more of that railing in. So, I'm going to start working on digging out stuff on this wall. And hopefully we have enough space to actually put these in. I know we're getting really close to the surface over here, so I don't know where we're going to end up breaking through. Ah, there it is. That does make this a little more difficult. But these aren't that big of farms, so we should be able to just put this in real quick and go from there. So I'm going to go get those set up, and then I'll be right back. Alright, quick little bit of tinkering later, and we now have farms for both our wildflowers here. This just work like our pink petal farm. Put 16 bone meal in each. This one's a little bit more complicated. So if we take out this, you can see when you press the button here, that'll get bone mealed. It'll grow it on the moss or the mud, and then it gets sucked down into our hopper there into our chest. It does seem a little borky with that, and it looks like we may have some slight troubles. We may need to put another hopper under there and change that to mud. Not that big of a deal. Should work quite well. The only issue is we have no real way to fill these up with bone meal. So we've got a hopper line here that will fill up the wildflower one. And for the firefly bush, we just come around here to the back and fill it up that way. I may want to play around with this redstone a little bit. I just did this to keep this compact, so we may have to play around with this. It may change once we actually get a clock in here. But all in all, I'm quite liking how this is turning out. You may also notice it's quite a bit brighter up here too. I've been playing around with the ceiling ideas for this area because I do want to get a ceiling in eventually. So we've got the pale oak along the top. I wanted something different for the trim. We might change some of that out for oak, but I wanted that to be a little different. And then around the outside, we've got pale, or not pale, we've got smooth quartz all the way through there. And then the center, we've got 2 redstone or copper bulbs that we stole from the trial chamber to light up the whole room. And I think they do a really good job. Kind of like the light white ceiling. We don't really play around with that too much. It's not a palette I usually use, so quite happy with that. I like how it turned out over here, so I'm really glad that it seems to be working for this. Now the top layer up here we're definitely going to keep as the pale oak planks, and we might try and fade between the stone bricks and the wood. I don't quite know. I haven't figured out what I want to do for this middle section here. Can't really do any farms or anything, but it should be quite nice like that. You can see we've got trap doors here so we can access the chest, and this still looks nice. So, there's some stuff we need to play around with, but these are functional farms. Now we just need to work on getting the other pieces, and for that we're going to need a flower farm. So this shouldn't be too hard. It's a common design that we like to use. Might change it up slightly. I don't know. Is that centered? Oh, that's perfect. That is centered. Might change it up slightly because getting the redstone through here might be a little difficult. I'll have to play around with that. So I'm going to go get that in. Probably do the same thing. Will flowers spread to mud? I don't know that flowers will spread to mud. I'll have to play around with that. Because if we can use mud for this, that'll be so much nicer than having to use the hopper minecart. I'm really liking that change. But I'm going to have to play around with that. See what I can do for this. I need to figure out how we're transitioning the ceiling here. Because I'm going to cut this one off right here for this area. And then we'll have to figure out this ceiling. Because this is right underneath the ground here. So there are a few spots that we can't really go up too far. But that's a problem for a later me. Right now we need flower farm. Alright, so a little bit tinkering later and we now have a flower farm in. It's still pretty manual. We have to use the bone meal ourselves on this, but all we do right now is we open up the trapdoor, bone meal our flower, hit the button, pistons break all the flowers, hopper minecart picks everything up. And so far it seems to be working pretty well. Not quite sure how much we're really gonna be able to get with this, since it's not automatic. Not that there's really much that we can do for an automatic clock. I mean, I suppose we could use the piston and redstone clock. That would work, but stack of flowers should last us a decent amount. We only have a small little patch of forest right now. But we've got Lily of the Valleys in there right now because I think that is going to be what we use primarily out there. Still playing around with flower ideas. definitely want those bushes because those particles look really, really nice. Can't wait to get this actually detailed up and everything. But that gets us most of our decoration blocks. We do probably want a coral farm, maybe a grass farm. I definitely want something to make getting the dry grass easier. I still have to figure out what we're going to do for that, how we're going to do that, because I have no idea how we might go about doing that. Don't know if we're going to expand this out farther. I have noticed that this is not very bright at night, so we put the torches back in down here. I think some of it is, I think one of those blocks in the path is a path block, so that's letting in all the daylight. But all in all, I think this is starting to come along quite nicely. So I'm going to have a play about with what we can do for a dry grass farm. Figure out a place to put it. If this only extends to here, maybe we can put... that's getting a little close to the flower farm. I'll have to play around with something. I don't know. Definitely have lots of space here that we could put stuff in. And I want to keep all these kind of together. Maybe we'll put it back over here. Put coral and grass farm along this wall. Put a dry grass farm over here. I don't know. Maybe we'll knock out more space here. Like that. Something to play around with. And so, I'm going to go get that figured out. And then I'll be right back. Alright, so we've gotten a little bit carried away here. We now have a dry grass farm. It is fairly manual, as all of our farms are. So we hit the button, break the short dry grass, and now we get more dry grass. And very, very simple farm. Works decently. I'd like to automate this, but I don't think we can break the dry grass without shears. So it's going to have to be manual. Honestly, just pressing the button to do this is not that bad. Especially since we have to break it anyway. Eventually, I'd like to be able to just hold down a button to break it. But again, not too bad for right now. Over here, we have added in at least the start of a sea pickle farm. So we have this area here. I might end up putting in some buttons or something over here to kind of drop everything down right over here. I have to figure out the collection system for this, but this does in fact have water through all of this. Got all that stuff, bone meal. That we should at some point get more sea pickles. We do need more coral for this though, and for some reason I'm not able to place coral without a block underneath it, which is kind of odd because I've always done my coral in sea pickle farms with water underneath our little coral platform here. Over here we've got a little grass patch here that just grows up some grass and such for us. So we'll get our ferns, our grass, get a few flowers as well. Nothing that we overly need because we've got tons and tons of poppies. And over here we have a seagrass farm and coral farm, so we just have to break those, hop in there. To put in some lighting somewhere over there, because that's going to get kind of dark. I don't know, I'll have to figure out a wall here between the two as well. But that should just about cover all of our decoration stuff. Now we're definitely going to need to keep going here, I think. So originally thinking that maybe if we could find sniffers, we'd put some here, but we're not guaranteed to find those anyway, so what I'm thinking is that we'll go down here. Once we get into the nether, we'll put another section here. So those are 5 blocks wide, I believe. So, oh, that's almost perfect. Then, well, maybe not there. Figure something out to put the other one, and maybe we'll just do this one as a little bit longer and And instead of just doing one, we'll do half and half. I don't know. We will figure that out once we are actually in the nether. And then we'll figure out some other place to put sniffers or figure out something to do up here. I don't know. I do like just leaving this open so we can access this. Because that's our dispensal for the firefly bushes. But all in all, I'm quite happy with how this is turning out. Definitely needs to do some decorating down here. This is still very, very undecorated for a lot of this. Still have to do the staircase for the mines and everything else. We may end up having to go get some prismarine. Just so we can start finishing off some of these rooms. But all in all, I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. This is going to be very useful. And we are definitely going to need to get ourselves a source of bone meal. The trial chamber is nice, but we might want something a little bit more steady. That cactus farm might be a good idea. I'll have to play around with that. But for now, I think that is probably going to be it for today. I'm probably going to go and enchant up these shears so that we can actually start harvesting some more stuff that needs silk touch. Like our corals with these. Be a lot helpful and also a lot more durability. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more of what is going on this island and in the rest of this world. And I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.